It's that time of year again, when everyone posts their best catalogs, brings out their newest merch, and gets stuffed into the Artist Alley dungeon. It's Anime Expo in Los Angeles. This was my first time tabling at AX because this year AX switched their process from jury to lottery, and I figured I might as well apply if it's going to be random anyways. Acceptances came out on time in January, but what I did not expect was for stamp rallies to start recruiting the very same day. Every year I always saw these banger rally prizes on social media with really high effort merch, so I guess it makes sense that the rally prep would start as soon as possible. I signed up for 6 rallies that I had a good amount of merch of: Zero Escape / I the Somnium Files, Arknights, Ace Attorney, Hatsune Miku, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, and Fate / Type Moon. We were able to actually select and buy our table in February. I was hoping to get something towards the front of any of the rows, though I wanted to avoid row A since I heard it can get stinky there, and I didn't really want to find out if that was true or not. Anyways, even though there were over 600 artists, I thought that any of the tables would have been pretty good. But I mainly just wanted to be able to exit the hall quickly in case me or my helper wanted to go get some fresh air. I picked out table I3. Obviously, all the tables in the front rows were gone by the time it was my turn to pick, but the tables in the back and later rows were mostly unclaimed. At this point, I was feeling pretty optimistic. Sure, I don't really have the big social media following to summon customers to my table, but I have my niche fandoms and art that stands out in person. Plus, the stamp rallies I was in should help bring potential customers with similar interests to my table. In mid-March, a second wave of acceptances went out, adding about 300 tables to the Artist Alley for a total of around 900 artists. The only warning we got was a social media post from AX announcing that this would be the biggest AX yet, featuring over 900 artists, among other things. I thought this 900 meant the 600 in the Artist Alley plus some more artists who were in exhibitors or something, but nope, it was actually 900 artists in the Artist Alley. I started to feel like table placement, stamp rallies, and marketing would become crucial if I wanted to make a decent profit at AX. I just wanted to see what tabling at AX was like. The first thing I prepped for AX was actually my stamp rally prizes. With the tariff situation changing constantly, a lot of the organizers wanted the files ready ASAP so rally production could finish and be shipped before a new crazy tariff dropped. I drew a Somnium Files deco-style sticker sheet, part of an Arknights lanyard, Ace Attorney photo card, Miku coaster, ORV print, and a Fate Samurai Remnant sticker. After that, I started drawing my own merch for AX. My plan was to lean into my established niches, so Arknights, Review Starlight, and Girls Band / Music Anime, ORV. My hope was to encourage people who are already at my table for a specific fandom to buy more in one purchase, since I didn't think every attendee would be able to walk by my table like at other conventions. I've made new Arknights sticker sheets, phone charms, Review Starlight photo cards, and large prints for Arknights, ORV, and Ave Musica / MyGo. I also finally got my restock of my Kagero project and Somnium Files CD charms, which I haven't had for like half a year, and I ordered more Arknights tote bags since I was part of the Arknights rally. After I sent off my files to the printer, I began putting together my catalog for the show. Given the size of the Artist Alley, this is probably the show to make a catalog for. Personally, I prefer to have all my offerings displayed in one post as opposed to making a thread, but the first page is just an overview of what fandoms I have, stamp rallies, sketch commission info, and the map, and then I have all my merch in the next images. I posted it to social media with a set of AX hashtags and submitted it to an attendee-run Artist Alley database to maybe get more eyes on it. But overall, preparation was coming along smoothly. I started figuring out what I wanted my table to look like and tried making a few more small prints. Until the 3rd week of June when my tablet decided to stop working. So at this point I gave up trying to draw new things for AX and just started playing a bunch of visual novels instead. And I started working on some stuff for DragonCon since I felt like there was a chance I might get sick from AX. Then the last of my merch orders arrived, so I started the process of luggage Tetris since I do have to fly to California. I also ordered a batch of prints to be directly shipped to a family friend in LA since I felt like it would be easier than trying to make it fit in my suitcases. Then it was off to the airport for setup day. Everything on setup day was as smooth as it could have been. My flight arrived early, check-in luggages came out quickly, and there wasn't much traffic on the way to the convention center. But I absolutely underestimated how long setting up my table would take me because I was scrambling by the end of the setup time to have my display finished. Part of it was because I wasn't setting up as fast as other shows because I spread my display equipment across multiple luggages, so it took a while to find where I put everything. But the other part of it was I did not realize how big the convention center was and how long it takes to walk through, especially when you're pulling luggage with you. So if I do AX again, I might try to take an earlier flight or arrive one day earlier to set up without feeling too rushed. My table is basically the same as always but squished downwards a bit. Since there was a 5-foot height limit, I had to rearrange my print display to keep my best sellers visible. I also had to really organize the backside of the table since we couldn't have things behind us in order to keep the walkway clear. The staff for my row weren't super strict since I started slowly putting more things behind me, but this is completely up to whoever is in charge of the row. I went in around 7 AM to finish putting up the side wings for my prints. This didn't take too long, but I started to notice that there weren't a lot of artists setting up in the hall. The hall was set to open around 9, but it was still strangely empty. Because apparently there was smoke in one of the halls, so they weren't letting anyone in or out of the building until it was cleared. I had no idea this was even happening because I was just in the artist alley the whole time. Once they started letting people back in, I started to feel the full force of 100,000 attendees. Thursday was the day people rushed over to fill up their stamp rally cards. The Uchikoshi and Arknights rallies were popping off to the point where the Uchikoshi rally ran out of prizes on day 1. If I'm being honest, I did not really feel the effects of the high carbon dioxide levels on day 1. Not to say that there weren't high levels because I'm pretty sure it was bad, but I think I was just on so much adrenaline that I didn't notice. Since I got 2 commission requests on Thursday, I headed over around 7 on Friday to start working on those. One of the requests was for an old OC that I didn't even know people were still thinking about, but it was really fun to draw her again. There wasn't much to fix for my display, but we were supposed to be ready to open as early as 8 AM because the fire marshal can just decide when the artist alley opens. This was the day that I was really starting to feel the effects of oxygen deprivation, so I started switching off with my helper to go take oxygen breaks outside. The area with the food trucks was the closest exit I could find, so I just spent 5 minutes wandering around before heading back into the dungeon. There was one point where they turned off the escalators, so the only way to leave was the stairs, and there were just so many people trying to go up that I gave up on my oxygen break. There were artists with canned oxygen, which was starting to look really tempting by the end of Friday. By Saturday, I think most people had bought the things they really wanted to get, so it was slower than the previous 2 days. I used this time to do my own shopping in exhibitors and artist alley because what's the point of making money as a con artist if not to spend it immediately on other artists? After I was done, I realized I bought a lot of stuff, so I was trying to work hard to sell more merch to make room in my luggage for my new toys. I was running low on prints, so I ordered a print restock the night before with the printer that works with AX for artist alley delivery. It was kinda pricey, but they worked fast and they came right to my table with the prints in the morning, so it was worth it considering how fast my prints were selling. The print quality wasn't as nice as my usual printer, but still good enough to sell. Sunday was the slowest day of the con. People were making their final purchases, and I made about half of Thursday's sales. I don't really have much to say because I was really tired by this point. But after the hall closed, we packed everything up and then rearranged everything to fit all of the stuff I bought at AX. AX was the most I have ever made at a con, and it was also the most stressed I have been about a con. Thursday was my best day, followed by Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday. With the catalog and stamp rallies meta, I kind of expected this to happen at AX, and it's a trend I've been seeing with my own sales at other shows. People would make their purchases early to make sure they could get what they wanted before it sold out. A lot of attendees would have a picture with items or my catalog circle to show me what they wanted to get. My best sellers were my large print deals and large prints, followed by charms and sticker sheets. I had to restock my prints twice during the event because I underestimated how many people would be buying large prints. It was definitely a good call to lean into my niches as much as possible. There were a lot of big Arknights purchases and even more girls band anime purchases. I felt like attendees weren't browsing as much given the size of the hall, so some of my impulse buy items didn't do as well compared to other events. My items that normally do well did really well, and my items that generally do okay barely moved, like my Witch Hat, Atelier Prints, and Pokimiku charms. There also wasn't too much interest in my originals besides my art books, though I didn't put out too much OC stuff this time. I think AX was a different kind of con because I wasn't competing with just the artists in the artist alley. I was competing with the exhibitors hall, panels, and guests for where attendees would spend their time and money. I found the quality of exhibitors and guests at AX to be a lot higher than most other cons, and I get why attendees might prioritize that over the artist alley. Plus, a lot of the big exhibitors were handing out freebies for doing an activity at their booth, so you could get a lot of things without having to make a purchase. One thing I wish I did better was having a larger window for customers to check out at. Sometimes attendees would be looking at the things directly in front of the checkout window, which I appreciated the engagement, but there would also be people standing behind kind of looking unsure if they could come closer, and even though we were able to handle the orders pretty quickly, I wonder if appearing more approachable would have helped increase my sales over the weekend. Usually this is not a problem when I raise my photo stand to its full height, but because of the height limit, my checkout window got kind of squished. Also, if I knew there would be like 300 more artists in the hall, I would have tried harder to get a corner spot. Technically, you're not supposed to put art along the outer edge, but I'm pretty sure I saw all of the rows doing it anyway. Overall, AX was a con that I felt like I had to prepare very specifically for. I've never done AX before, so I can't really say if this year was better or worse than last year. I don't really have a big social media presence, so I tried sticking to my strengths and promoting as much as I could before the event. I think table placement and stamp rallies helped a lot in driving traffic to my table. Also, I did not get sick afterwards, which I am very grateful for. Anyways, that was AX 2025. Probably the most intense con for the year, so I hope I can chill out a bit before Anime NYC and then Dragon Con. I get to draw more OC merch, which should be fun. Also, this video came out kind of late because I was recovering from AX for like 3 weeks. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye!